Hello everyone, welcome to the Teen Anxiety and Depression webinar. I know it says teen, but we're actually going to open this up for adults and younger individuals as well. You don't have to be a teen, you don't have to be a parent of a teen. We know that right now there's more fear and worry and anxiousness in our society because of the coronavirus more than ever. And so a lot of people might be going through these challenges specifically right now. And so I wanted to open it up and speak to not just, the ones that have been diagnosed with anxiety or have been told they have depression and they're on medications for it. This is going to be a topic that a lot of people can relate with, and with, like I said, everything that's going on in the world, but also just in normal times when things were back how they used to be before the coronavirus. There was a lot of bullying, a lot of school shootings, and teens and that whole generation has some of the highest rates of anxiety and depression that we've seen in a long time. I read a stat, I think it said that kids in this generation are more stressed than kids that were stressed in the Great Depression. So I'm sure they were going through quite a bit of stress back in that time when their families had no money and people had to really figure out what they were going to do to get by, to live to the next day. And so children apparently are living their lives with more stress and anxiety than those individuals did back in the Great Depression. So definitely a big topic that we need to hit on. I know it can be a difficult topic for a lot of people, but I feel like speaking to it and shining a light on it in a positive way is one of the best things we can do to help those individuals, whether that's you or your child, or somebody that has a child or a teen, or know an individual that struggles with anxiety and depression. Send this video to them. I'd love to be able to get them the information and the hope and the help and the answers that they're looking for. All right? So we're going to go through really the 3 different types of stressors that can lead to an individual, an individual's specific presentation of anxiety and depression or fear and worry. There's really 3 different aspects that we see causing a lot of these troubles, and that is physical stress, chemical stress, and emotional stress. So we're going to cover those. We're also going to dive a little bit into what anxiety and depression might look like, what signs to watch out for, what an individual that has those symptoms, what do they present with, so you guys as parents can watch out for it and watch out for signs and early signs, but also what we can do to help, right? What am I doing as a chiropractor talking about these issues? We'll talk about all of that at the end, all right? So first, let's talk just about anxiety and depression. Anxiety is a general term for disorders that cause nervousness, fear, apprehension, and worrying. They affect how we feel and behave and can have physical symptoms. So just because it's more of an emotional struggle, an emotional challenge, you can have physical ailments as a side effect or as a comorbidity, something that goes along with anxiety. It can be physical pain or aches or discomfort. We know that when you're stressed and anxious, your body tends to go into more of a protective state, a flexed state, and so your back hunches over, and we'll talk more about this later, but that can have an impact on the posture of your spine and your muscles, and that can lead to a lot of aches and pains along the spine specifically. We know that really both with emotional health challenges, whether it's anxiety or depression, there's really 2 systems that play within our bodies that is out of balance when we're talking about these emotional issues. There's your body's fight or flight mechanism, and then there's the rest and healing mechanism. And these 2 are always trying to balance one another out. They're trying to, be the perfect teeter-totter. We don't want one to be higher than the other, but we know that at certain times when we do have a stressor come into our life, like on the interstate, if a car in front of us slams on our brakes, our body needs to be able to recognize that stress to go into that fight or flight mode really fast and to slam on the brakes. But when we do that, if you noticed, when my body goes into fight or flight, it shuts down rest and healing mode, all right? Rest and relaxation. And so our body's in a constant state of trying to keep those two sides balanced. And with emotional challenges like anxiety and depression, we find that it's an individual who is stuck in more of this stressed, anxious, worried, fight or flight state, okay? All right, so depression. What is depression? A mental health disorder characterized by persistently depressed mood or loss of interest in activities, causing significant impairment in daily life. All right, so oftentimes we find that this sets in a little bit later in the teenage years. Overall, it can really impact an individual at any point in their life, but the most commonly seen presentation of it is in a teen that is later on in their teenage years, after they've already had a number of years being more high-strung, more anxious, more on edge. That once their body has been in that state for way too long, it'll start to wear down, and they'll be more withdrawn, and they'll start to be more depressed. A lot of times we'll even see kids that are depressed in their later teenage years. They're the individuals that were actually really energetic and hyperactive when they were younger. They were off the walls and had a lot of energy. They were super happy, and they were always playing with every single individual. They had a lot of friends, but then their bodies couldn't sustain that high energy, anxiousness. It turned into more worry and fearfulness, and their body can't sustain that for 16, 17, 18 years. And so that's where we start to see a lot of challenges arise emotionally. Children start to wear out, and their bodies start to get more in this state of exhaustion, and they're not motivated, and they're depressed. All right, so what causes this emotional challenge to arise? What causes these emotional struggles, anxiety and depression to arise? Well, we know that it's a nervous system that is stuck in fight or flight. I already said that. So what causes a person's fight or flight mode to get turned on in the first place? Well, stress. Whether it's a physical stress, a chemical stress, or an emotional stress, those are what kick our body into that fight or flight mode. And so if we're stuck in that mode, it's usually because we have too much physical, chemical, and emotional stressors in our life. And so real quick, I'm going to discuss what physical stressors are, what emotional stressors are, and what chemical stressors are. So first one, physical. Posture. That's a big one for a lot of teens. There's a lot of teenagers who sit a lot throughout their day, whether they're in school or at home, playing video games, sitting at their desk. The posture that we have a lot of times is more of a hunched over state, or a flexed state. And if you just think about our natural instincts, whenever we're stressed, we go into that flexed posture, that fetal position. And so when we're in this position, just by sitting at a desk, that's the tendency for our bodies to go into more of a hunched over, head forward, shoulders rounded forward state, and that can cause our body to feel like we need to be stressed. Our body's emotional mechanism of stress mode turns on, and so when we're having our body sit in this position for hours on end at school or at work, that can start to cause us to be more stuck in a stressed state, a fight or flight state. Text neck. That's another, kind of a postural thing. They're calling it text neck because a lot of teenagers are, on their phones every day, looking down at their phone or their iPad. And we know that for every inch forward that a person, an adult, and a teenager leans their head, or for every inch forward that they move their head, that adds another 10 pounds of strain and stress on the muscles of the neck. So that's going to be a major physical stressor for an individual's body. And that physical stress is another thing that's going to kick on our body's fight or flight mode. Growth spurts, computer screen time that goes along with the sitting, homework, lack of activity, lack of getting outside and being active and running and exercising, video games. Those are all signs of physical stressors. Yeah, you might say video games don't stress me out. They actually help me and be happier. But if you're sitting there not moving, that is a stressor on your physical body. You were designed to move and to be mobile, and when you're not moving, that creates more of a stress on your body than anything, okay? Emotional stress, that's the next one, and this is the one that most people think of when they hear the word stress. They think emotional, worry, stress, but we know that peer pressure is emotional stress. Social media, standards are a stressor for a lot of individuals. A lot of girls try to keep up with IG influencers, and they want to have the best post and try to get the most likes. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, those are all really, really big sources of stressors for a lot of teens. Bullying, relationships, friendships, time management skills, testing, college prep, decision consequences, whether they do A or B. Those are a lot of things that a lot of teens are going through. School, work, social life, balance. There's a lot going on in a child's life, in a teen's life, especially when they get into high school. They're expected to try to transition into adulthood while still doing all their regular activities with school. Maybe they get a job to try to help out with money to pay for college or buy their car. Those are all things that a lot of teens struggle with, okay, emotionally, and that can also be a big source of a person's nervous system getting stuck in this fight or flight state. And then lastly, chemical stress. That's junk food, that's processed food, that's drugs, alcohol, McDonald's, fast food, too much processed foods, not healthy, nutritious foods, okay? So the things we put in our body, that's a chemical stressor if it's unhealthy food or processed foods or a high sugar, high carb diet. That's definitely gonna be a stressor on our body and can kick our nervous system into a state of fight or flight. But also not just food, also the things we put on our body, whether it's hygiene products or makeup or deodorant or shampoo or toothpaste. There's a lot of toxins in very, very commonly used brands that we buy, and if we're going through if a teenager is going through a lot of hormonal changes and we add in a lot of chemical toxins through these different products, it can definitely be one of the problems that causes a child's nervous system or a teen's nervous system to be stuck in fight or flight again. So those are the main causes of stress in teens. But again, those can be causes of stressors for all individuals, even adults right now. A lot of adults, maybe they had a manual labor job and now they're not working at all. They're having to stay home because of the coronavirus. Now everybody's sitting. Everybody is being more sedentary. So this definitely applies to a lot more people than just teens, okay? So teen anxiety and depression presentation. First, I'm gonna go over anxiety and what that might look like in a teenager, but again, this can apply to anybody and everybody. But when someone is more anxious, they're stressed, they tend to shut down or avoid the individuals that made them stressed, or maybe their family or their friends are people that trigger them and cause them to be more stressed or worried. So they might push those people away. They are an overachiever. They have high expectations for themselves. That can be a major stressor for a lot of teens and adults if they are not able to live up to their expectations. And so that's where a lot of poor coping mechanisms start to create bad habits for these individuals. They might start relying on medications like Adderall or marijuana, or even alcohol. That can be a coping mechanism that an individual starts using or starts looking for if they have high expectations of themselves, trying to manage their schoolwork, their work life, their social life, their preparation for college. Not opening up, that's another big one for individuals that are anxious. They have a lot of temper or mood swings. They might blow up irrationally for the smallest little thing. Negative self-talk. They might not be the most positive person. They're always down. They always see the negative side of things instead of the positive side. They, like I said, have poor coping mechanisms. I already went over that. So those are all things or signs to look for an individual that is anxious or has a lot of anxiety. For depression, again, they're more withdrawn. They are tired a lot of the times. They're fatigued. They lack motivation. They sleep past their alarms. They miss school, miss work. They don't really care that they missed school or missed work. They don't really have a drive or a passion or motivation that's pushing them or causing them to strive for anything in their life. They lack participation in everything, whether it's school, activities, friends. They lack confidence, lack self-worth. They might have suicidal thoughts or attempts, lack any sign of coping mechanisms. They just don't try to cope with anything. They just have lost hope. Those are all signs of depression, and that's what to look for in an individual. And if anybody ever mentions, suicidal thoughts, that's the big one I really want to hit on. You definitely want to take that seriously and not just push it aside. It's not a laughing matter. It's not a joking matter. And so you definitely want to take those concerns seriously. When it comes to what we can do to help these individuals, all right, this is the best part of the webinar, where I get to instill hope. It's been a lot of gloom and doom up until this point, but that's what we're dealing with these individuals. They're not happy. They're not enjoying their life. They're stressed. They're worried. They're anxious. They're fearful, and that is not a good place to be. So I want to help give you guys some hope, give you guys some answers now, give you peace of mind, hopefully, and hopefully give you guys something to strive for, something to try aside from the other things that you may have already looked into. Maybe your child has already, tried a lot of different medications and it just wipes them out, or it makes them a completely different person. We know that chiropractic care has a completely different method of helping an individual, and we also get very, very different results. All right, so I'm going to walk you through what you guys can expect, what we look for, what we do to help an individual, and how that works. All right, so first, before I get into how chiropractic actually helps, what I'm gonna do is talk about what we actually see with individuals coming into our practice, whether it's a younger child or a teen or an adult, when it comes to anxiety and depression or emotional challenges, and what we look for to recognize that individual might be struggling with some of these problems. So for kids, maybe they're younger, pre-grade school or elementary, middle school. These kids that are starting to show early signs of being stuck in this fight or flight state, they're high stress kids. They have no coping mechanisms. They're high energy. They have no awareness of their stress, but that they always have big eyes. They're always looking all around them. They are high-strung individuals. Those are the types of kids that usually we see later on getting into more of the anxiousness and turn into more of the anxiety kids. So then teens, they have awareness of their stress. They know that they're stressed. They know that there's something going on in their life, and they have coping mechanisms, but they're not healthy. They're very immature. Like I said, they might try to use drugs or alcohol or medications to deal with their problems, or they might be very emotionally unbalanced, I should say. They push people away. That might be their coping mechanism. Adults with high stress, these are individuals that they're really aware of what's going on in their life. They know the problems. They just haven't really been able to find anything that helps them. So they're able to cope with the problems. They have coping mechanisms in place, but there's still unhealthy habits that an individual doesn't want to try to live with through their entire life. And so these are the individuals that have found a way to be able to get through work, to be able to get through their daily life, but they're still just not happy. They go home and they feel like they are just in a routine of anxiousness and anxiety and worry, and that is no place to live, and so no way to live. And so we want to help you no matter what stage you or your child is in right now. We want to give you guys answers and give you hope. And so getting right into that, how chiropractic helps is not by adjusting the spine and it removes anxiousness or removes depression or heals depression or anything like that. But what we do is lower the stress on your nervous system. We get your body into that rest and healing mode. Remember, there's the two modes, the fight or flight side and the rest and healing. What chiropractic is able to do through our adjustments is we restore balance within the nervous system. And again, your nervous system is your brain, your spinal cord, and the nerves that come off your spinal cord. And so that's the system that we're working with. And there's an intimate connection between your spine and your nervous system, the spinal cord and the nerves coming off your spinal cord. I got my spine right here, so I'll show you. So your brain is sitting up here, and it sends signals down your spinal cord, and then you have these nerves at every level coming off your spine, going out into all the parts of your body. And so that is the system that is regulating how your body responds to stress, or how your body goes into fight or flight mode, or how your body goes into rest and healing and digestion and immune system function mode. All right, so that nerve system is what we're working with in our office. And through our care, we know that we're able to restore balance in that system. So if you're an individual or your child is someone that is stuck in this fight or flight state, if it sounds like your child has some signs of anxiety or anxiousness or worry, or even they're already depressed, if that is your child, then we want to help you by restoring balance to their nervous system. And when we do that, what it does is basically helps them be more aware of their environment. They're able to process the information of what's going on in their world, in their life, whether it's something they're seeing, whether it's something they're hearing. All the senses that we have, see, sight, hearing, touch, taste, feel, those are all the senses that our body is using to process and interpret the world around us. And for an individual that is stuck in a state of stress, fight or flight mode, they're not processing their environment properly. They're not seeing the world around them properly. They're taking everything a little bit too seriously, you can put it that way. But when you start to get somebody's nervous system balanced and more in a rested, relaxed state, you can really start to notice a difference in these individuals. So just as an example, we had a young little girl, about 13 years old, came in with a lot of migraines and anxiety, her mom and dad reported, and she has, since being under care, she has completely transformed. Her emotional state is, she's a mellow jello individual. She used to be so anxious and worked up every single time she came in. She wanted to know every little detail about what we were gonna do. She was worried about all the different parts of our office and where she could go or where she needed to stay away from. She asked so many questions, and now she comes in, lays on the table, super calm, mellow, gets adjusted, super happy, feels great, doesn't have any more migraines, which is a side benefit. But she's just so much less anxious and less fearful of everything in her life. And her parents have said that time and time again coming in here. They've noticed so much difference. Whereas before, she was on a lot of different medications and she was trying a lot of different drugs. And each one they tried just completely wiped her out or transformed her personality. It was a different person. And so they didn't want to rely on those medications for the rest of her life. And so she came in and discovered our care and was able to get her nervous system balanced. And so that is just one testimony of how we were able to transform an individual's life with anxiety. But there's a number of different cases. It doesn't have to be that exact case if that's your child. Definitely, we'd love to get them checked. But if any of what I talked about throughout this initial portion, beginning portion of this video, then definitely bring your child in and we'd love to get them assessed. Or if it's you as the adult who is more anxious or depressed, we'd love to get your nervous system assessed as well. We use some very awesome technology on the beginning portion of our care to identify whether or not you have a balanced nervous system or whether your nervous system is stuck in fight or flight, or if you're functioning well, okay? And so that'll show us right off the bat, and we'll be able to tell you whether or not we can help you or your child. And that is really the number one step that I would say to take right now, is to just take that next step and get the answers that you're looking for. If we can help you, then we'll definitely let you know. If we are not the right fit, if we're not the place that is meant to help you, if your nervous system, your child's nervous system is already functioning well, then we'll be able to show you that, all right? And you'll be able to have at least answers in that sense. But for most people that struggle with these emotional health challenges, there's definitely some sort of imbalance going on. And so we're able to assess that individual and get them a care recommendation and to get them on the path to health and to living a happier, healthier life. All right, that is our goal. And that is as simple as it gets. Our care simply restores balance to the nervous system. and it gets your stress mode turned down, and it gets your rest and healing mode turned back up, so that there's nice and good balance in your life. All right? And balance is a good thing to strive for. Well, we always say a healthy nervous system is the #1 thing that is required to have a healthy, happy life. All right? So if you have any more questions, please reach out. Please message us. Please comment on this video. And I would love to get you the answers that you're looking for if I didn't cover it. All right? Thank you for watching. Have a good night.